Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create this income, expense, and savings tracker. This tracker is a piece of an income and expense savings tracker that I sell in my digital shop. So if you want to support me and you want a more robust template, I will leave links in the description box so you can go ahead and check it out. That being said, let me show you what we're going to be covering in today's tutorial. I have organized the major steps using this checklist. We're going to go over each one. That way I'm more organized. And also, as you are creating yours, you're able to follow through much easier. The video will also be organized in chapters. That way you can easily navigate back and forth. Let's start with the first step, template overview. The first part of the template is a dashboard, a summary of what has been entered in the table: total income, total expenses, and savings, and the averages. The next table is a summary table, January through December, and the amounts entered for income, expenses, and savings. So these two will automatically update. The first table that we're going to be manually entering information into is the income table. We have January through December and the different sources of income here. We have the expense table, okay, sources of income here, and January through December. And the same for savings sources, January through December. The first graph is the overall summary. Income, expense, savings. We have the annual income summary. You can see the trends from January through December. Same thing with the expenses. There is a small difference between these two graphs, and I'll show you the difference, and you can choose which version you prefer to use for yours. And then finally, in this graph, we have the annual savings summary. Okay, so this is done. Next, we're going to do the setup tab, and here is what it looks like. The setup tab has income, expense, savings, and then it has the different sources here. We're going to turn this into drop downs. I will open a blank sheet to show you how to create this. To rename the sheet, I'm double clicking in here. I'm going to rename this setup 1. Okay. And before I do anything, what I like to do is to prepare my sheet by removing the excess rows that I'm not going to use, excess columns, and I change the fonts and the colors to what I want to use for that template. First thing I'm going to do is just click here. That selects everything. I'm going to use this font, change this to center justified and middle alignment. Delete everything past E, selecting everything all the way down, delete. And next, resize. I will use 40. And then what I'm going to do is just make these smaller. And finally, these would be my sections for my income, expense, and savings. And this would be the headers. So I'll put a border here and then do a bigger border like so. Select the inner space, go here. And then instead of using this darker color, I'm going to go to all the way here and also change the style to this one. And now I'm going to select this inner borders. Okay. So now you can't really see the change because the grid is still turned on, so we're going to turn that off. Go to view, show, grid lines. Okay, and now we have our table. Income, expense, and savings. Now I'm going to choose a color for income, expenses, and then savings. Okay, I do want to point something out. If you want to have more control over the colors that show up in your template, use this custom option. Right here, if you click on this edit, click on done, you can see Google Sheets provides several color themes that you can decide to use. So if I wanted to change this to this blue, for example, see it changes here. Not only that, if I go here, it changes here as well. Okay, but it doesn't change here. And that's because I did not select any of the options from the theme color. So I just want to point that out to you. If you want to create a template that you can easily change the color around, go ahead and use the theme colors here. Even if you don't like these colors, you can change them. So if I go back here, I can actually select the colors from the theme color. And I'll just select this. And then if I go to custom and I want to change it to something else, you can see it changes here as well. The next thing we're going to do is just enter data. I have my income source and I'm just going to paste values only and expenses, values only. And the reason why I'm pasting values only because I don't want it to mess up the formatting that I have already done. All right, so we're done with the setup tab and we'll come back to it when we need to connect the two tabs. The next step is to create the income, expense, and savings table, and that is this right here. We're going to create this expense and savings table. Now what you'll notice is that this has slots for 10 items, this has enough slots for 20 items, and savings space for 10. That's what I'm going to recreate in the example. However, if you want to create more or less space for either category, go ahead and do so. So we'll start with another new sheet, and I'll just go ahead and clean it up real quick. So we'll start with the income table. I'm just going to type income right here, type my month January, click on the month January and hover around the edge until you see this small cross. Hold on to it, drag it all the way down, and it will fill in all the months until you get to December. I'm going to delete this extra one. Here we're going to type total, and here percentage. Resize this, make this 200. Select all the way to 14, then go all the way down here. Now we're going to make a border, and then make another border here, and one more here. I prefer using lighter colors for the inner border, so I will do the same thing that I did for the setup tab. Go here, change the color to a lighter color, also change the style to this one, and then go ahead and click on inner borders. And now you cannot see it clearly, but if I go to view and grid lines, now you can see exactly what it looks like. Okay, now do the same for this as well, and then we can start playing around with the colors. So choose whatever color you want. Now we're going to create a drop down for the income. So select the entire area, go to insert, drop down. It automatically selects drop down. We do want the other drop down, which is drop down from range. Click this icon that says select data range, and we're going to go to the setup tab. What I like to do is just select a few of them. Then I remove the number, that way it selects all the way down. Click OK. And then you can play around with the style you want. So click on advanced options. Here you have the option of using chip, arrow, or plain text. For this template, I will use arrow, and click done. So go back to our sheet, and now all the income sources show up here. Okay, you can select it and start entering data. And we're going to repeat this step for expenses and then for savings. Select the range, insert, drop down from range, click on the icon, go back to the setup tab, highlight the setup tab, remove the last number, click on OK, advanced, arrow, done. Okay, and then if we double check, you can see that everything shows up the way it's supposed to. And what I'm going to do is double check this. I do feel like I selected the wrong setup tab. Yes, I did. So I'm going to go ahead and change this. So I'm going to select this icon one more time. Now reselect the right setup tab. Okay, so now I have the correct one showing up. And the last is savings. All right, so let's go back to our checklist. So we've created the income, expense, and savings table. So I'm going to cross that out. Next is to edit custom colors. So I kind of already alluded to that earlier, but I'll show you what it looks like here. So we have our colors we have selected. We're going to go back here to fill color, choose this pencil icon, and then I'm going to click done. Then we can reselect the color so you can see what it looks like. Vintage, retro, coral. I kind of like this coral, so I'm going to change it to this coral. And then I'm going to click on customize. Okay, and here is where you can also do some more customization. Make some colors lighter or darker if you want to change the hue of the color. And I'm going to change this font to Roboto because this will affect the graphs, and click done. All right, so this is done. We've also created the drop down boxes. I'm going to cross this off. Next, we're going to add some data. I'm going to go to ChatGPT and ask for some realistic data that I can copy and paste into the table. I'm going to paste the data that I generated from ChatGPT. Just do values only. And here's what it looks like so far. Okay, and then next we're going to change this format to make sure it shows up as currency. Click dollar. You can also change how it's displayed. Go to format, number, and you have a few other options here. Change it to that. Okay, and this is what it looks like. Then we'll repeat the same steps for expenses and savings. All right, so I've entered in all the amounts for income, expenses, and savings. So this step is done. Next is we want to add the formulas. What I'm going to do is first just change the colors here just to make sure it's obvious that these are going to be formulas. Just add in this light gray color. So what we want is to add up the amounts from January through December. So we'll do equals sum, and it already highlights that amount for us. So I'm just going to hit tab and then drag this formula all the way down and just put the border back and then repeat the same steps for expenses and savings. Next is to calculate the percent. Before doing that, I want to ensure that the formatting is correct. So highlight the entire range, click on percentage, then I type in the formula. In the cell, click equals, and we're going to select this cell. That's the one we want to calculate the percentage for first, divided by the sum of the entire range. So we're just going to type sum, tab to select sum, open parentheses, select the entire range, close parentheses, and hit enter. We're not going to autofill yet, so just reject suggestion for now. And then what we're going to do next is click on that cell. We want to lock this range. So show you what I mean by that. If I don't lock this range and I try to copy this to the next cell, because that's essentially what we need to do to calculate the percentage for the next cell. If I just drag it down, here's what happens. And I click on this cell, the range shifts. So it's not capturing the correct range. So we need to undo that and lock the range. To lock the range, we just need to put a $sign before the column number, after the column number, then right here as well, like that, and hit enter. Okay, so nothing should change here, but now when we try to copy this by dragging it down, the percentages should be correct. If we double click, you can see the range is correct. The other thing I want to show you is you can use a shortcut key to add this, and this is something I do all the time. I use a MacBook and click in the range that you want to add those $signs automatically. Click in that range and just hit F4 and it adds it for you. That way you don't have to type it. It adds it exactly where it's supposed to go. So we just copy this all the way down and add our border one more time. And then you can readjust the decimal places as you please. So maybe show only one decimal place. And we'll repeat the same steps for expenses and for savings. Back to our checklist, we can cross that off. Next, we're going to create the annual summary table. This is what we're going to create next. Back here, I'm going to add some more space, add our border, okay, and then add some inner border. Then add whatever color you want. So I'm going to use this color, change the font color to white for contrast, and then add our headers. Type income, expenses, and savings. January through December, we're going to copy this and paste this as values only. Next step is to place the sum of this amount here. So there are two ways to do it. You can create a row with the sum, or you can add the sum directly here. I'll show you both ways and then you can decide which one you want to use for your own template. So to add the sum directly here, we want to click in that cell for January equals. Now we want the sum of this entire column. That's it. And then we're going to copy this, select the entire range through December, right click, paste formula only. If I click in March and double click, you can see it is capturing the correct range for March. The other way to do this would be, let's add one more row below, okay, and just remove this drop down just for this one, and then add borders and do the same thing, equals sum, add this range and click enter. Copy, paste, formula only. With this method, what we're going to do next is just going to delete this and then reference this cell. So you do equals, enter, equals, click on this cell, enter, and then you could also copy and paste or drag. So I'll show you what it looks like if I drag all the way down to December, and then we have these numbers all showing up right here. Both methods should be fine. Just do whatever works for you. We'll do the same for expense, equals sum, and now go all the way down to expenses. Select this range, enter, drag it all the way down. For savings, equals sum, go all the way down, select the range for savings, enter, and drag it all the way down. Now, what we're going to do next is add it all up. So equals sum, and then we can drag this down. So if I drag this down, see what happens right here. This is what I mean by not wanting the formatting to mess up. So what we can do is just undo that, click on that, copy, select the range, right click, formula only. Okay, so we have the same effect, but the formatting is not changed. The last step would be to add the percentage. So equal this number divided by the sum of this range, enter. Select the entire range, format it in percentage form, and then add my $signs to lock it. And I'm just going to copy that and paste Perfect. Okay, so this is done. The next step would be to create this annual summary dashboard. We're going to create this dashboard right here. To create that dashboard, we're going to select these 5 rows, add a border. Then we're going to try to divide this into roughly equal amounts. If we go back to the example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers to display. I'll start with adding total income here. And then I'm going to select these 3, merge it, and do total expense, total expenses. The next 3, total savings, and then do the averages. And then we have 2 left, so I'll use that for average savings. So it's not perfectly divided, but it at least is symmetrical. So next we want to merge these 2 cells here, because that's where we're going to display the amounts. And then for this one, it will be the 3 cells. I'm going to use this paint formatting icon to speed up the process. So I've highlighted the first one, click on it, and just paste it for the next one, and just repeat the steps. Okay. And then I'm going to merge these 2. Now we want the total income to be displayed here. Okay. So the first thing we're going to add is the total income. We already have that number. All we have to do is do equals, go to total. Okay, this is it right here. Click on that and hit enter. Before we do the rest, let's work on the formatting. So I'm going to select the entire range. We're changing it to this currency format because this works better for the display dashboard. We're going to change the size and bold. Okay, and let's do expenses next. Equals expenses, and the average we'll have to type in a new formula. So for that, we'll do equals. I'm going to do average. Okay, select average, and now we want the average for the entire year. So select this range, enter. Same for expenses, equals average, select this range. Savings equals average, add the range, click enter. Perfect. So now that we've done most of our tables, we can go ahead and remove the grid lines, and then make this a little bit smaller, make this a little bit bigger, and add a light color so it's more obvious that this is a dashboard. Let's go back to our checklist to see how we're doing. So we're done with that. Next, we're going to create our graphs. So going back to the example, you can see we have 4 graphs: overall summary graph, income summary, expense summary, and savings summary. So go back here. Because we have 4 graphs, we want to try to divide this as evenly as possible. We'll make the first border here, and then merge it, and then do the next one. So we'll select this entire range, merge, add a border. Okay, so that would be the first 2 headers. And I'm going to copy these 2. We'll leave room for the graph here. This is the space between the graphs, and paste it right here. So here's the header row. The next one is the space for the graph. So I'm going to select that, right click, resize. I'm going to do 350. And then do the same for the next pair. Click on that row, right click, resize, 350. Delete rows that we don't need. And finally create the border for the graph and the header. And do the same for these 2. We're going to put the income here so we can just use the same color we used for income. For expenses, we use this color. Select all of them and change the font color to white. And then we can type our header title. So annual summary. Annual income summary. I'm just going to copy this, paste it here, and just change this to expense. One more time, change this to savings. Okay, so we have our headers, and now we're going to add the graphs in these spaces here. So the first graph is the annual summary graph, and we're going to go all the way up here, and we want to generate the graph with this information here from January through December. And so we're going to select this entire area. Then you can insert the graph, or what I like to do is use this icon here that says insert chart. Click on that. And then what Google Sheets is going to do is try to create the best chart for the data that you have. So here's what it looks like. I don't want to display this way. I want January through December here instead of income, expenses, and savings like this. Scroll all the way down. We want to switch rows and columns. Click on that. And once you do that, it changes to this format, which is what we want. So the next thing we're going to do is change the style. So if you prefer to use the bars, that's fine. I'm going to change it to the line graph, which is what I used in the example. So change it to the line chart. Click on that. and then go to customize. First, I want to remove the border and any color that the chart has. Click on chart style, click none for the background color and none for the border color. Okay, so I'm going to move this down so it's easier to see. So we want to place it where it's supposed to go, right here, and resize it until the width fits and the height fits into that box. Here's what the example looks like. I want to add these dots to each line. So we're going to go back to the graph, edit chart, go to customize, go to series, and right here it says point size none. You can click on that and you can do 2 points. You can make it larger, 7 points, or maybe do something like 5. So typing over it, it changes the number to what you want, and you can change the style. So instead of a circle, you could use a square, star, X mark, star. Okay, so whatever you want. So I'm going to change it back to a circle, leave it at 5, and close that out. Okay, so we have our first chart done. Next, we're going to do the annual income summary. So scroll all the way down to the table. We want to summarize this table in a chart form. So select the entire table, January through December. Don't add a total. Click on the icon that says Insert Chart. And here's what it looks like. Again, we're going to have to switch rows and columns. So scroll all the way down, click on Switch Rows and Columns. And then you have this chart right here. So take it all the way down, place it in that space. Just readjust it. And I like to remove the borders like I did before, so I can have control over the borders. So go back to customize, chart style, remove the background and remove the border. Okay, so now it fits perfectly right in this box. Okay, so going back to edit chart, I want to change the chart style. For this type of data, I like to view it in a stacked column. Select stacked column, and here's what it looks like. That way you can see each of the different sources of income with a different color. You can easily see the salary bringing the most amount of income and see the range of the salary from January through December. And the other thing I like to do when I use this stacked column chart is to add the total amount. So go to customize, go to series, and then want to scroll down and click on total data labels. Okay, so you can add data labels if you want, but I want to use specifically for this total data label. So click on that, just check that box. And then you can see the amounts right here. I'll just change the formatting a little bit, make it smaller, change the color to black, and then here's what it looks like. That way, at a glance, you can see the total amounts for each month, and then if you hover, you can see more information. Okay, repeat the same steps for annual expense summary. Select the entire table, chart, insert charts, go all the way down, switch rows to columns, drag it to its spots, fit it in that space, go to customize, chart style, remove background and border. Now I wanted to show you the other type of chart style that would work for this type of data. We're going to use this third option, which is the 100% stacked column. And here all the columns are the same exact height. With this chart style, you get the amount and also the percentage of this amount relative to the total. I'll readjust the height, go to series, and we're going to add a total data label, and then go back, make it a little bit smaller, change the color to black, and then here's what it looks like. You can use either this style or this style, just depends on how you like to view the data. And finally, we'll do the last one, which is savings. Select the entire range, insert chart, switch rows and columns, reposition the chart in this space, go to customize, remove the background color and the border, go back to chart style. I'm going to just change it to the second one, so matching the one we had for annual income, and go to customize, series, total, change the size to 10, change the color to black, and finally select the chart and select this part of the chart and move it down. And we're done with the chart. So now that the entire template is done, let's demo how it's going to work month to month. So I'm going to make a copy of this. So we're going to click on this, duplicate, and let's just rename this 2026 just to have a different name. I did fill the space with placeholders so that we can have something to work with for the formulas, but now that all the formulas work as it's supposed, we can delete everything. So this would all be deleted. So everything should be blank, okay? So the graphs are blank, everything's blank. The only problem is have this error messages showing up here. Let's get rid of those. So To get rid of the first one, just click on that cell. We're going to add an if error to our formula. Click right here before the equal sign. We're going to type if error, open parentheses, and then go all the way down to the end of the formula, comma, and we want it to be blank. So we're going to do 2 quotation marks. Okay, so 2 quotation and close the parenthesis and enter. And here's what it looks like. If you wanted to say something like pending data entry, you can do that. So go back to the formula. In between those quotation signs, you can add whatever text you want. So you can see, say maybe pending data, and then it shows up there. Or maybe you can do a dash that shows up like that. So whatever you want. So I am going to just have it say blank, and then I'm going to copy this, select these 2 cells and paste formula only. Okay. And then repeat the same steps for these ones. If error, okay. Open parentheses, comma, 2 quotations, close the parentheses, enter. Copy that formula. So just copy the entire cell, select this range, right click, formula only. And then just repeat the same steps for the last 2 tables. So here's what it looks like. So we have a completely ready to use blank sheet, and you can enter in your numbers. You can start with whatever you want, income, expenses, or savings. So we'll go to income, and let's say we want to start with salary. So we select salary. And then for January, let's say we earned $3,000. So enter $3,000 and select another. Let's say our side business, we earned $500. And that's all we have for income. When February rolls around to the month of February, and add $3,000 for salary. And you can maybe add $360 for your side business, and then everything starts updating automatically. So as you can see, the total amount shows up here. Nothing shows up for these amounts except for the average income. And let's look at what the graph looks like. So far we have this graph updating and this graph updating. And let's do some expenses. So let's do rent, mortgage. Let's do $1,000. And let's do utilities. Let's do $120. Let's do again, and for February utilities, let's say we spent $150. Okay, so when we go here, you can see it has updated automatically. Here updates as well as the average. Do the same for savings. Let's emergency funds. Let's say we saved $100 in January, and then in February we saved $150. Let's add retirement funds. We saved $300, and we also saved $300 in February. Okay. And all the graphs are updating exactly how they should. And if we go all the way up here, we can see the table has been updated with all of the amounts we entered, as well as the dashboard. Before we leave, I want to show you my template if you are interested in purchasing it. If not, that's fine. Go ahead and use this simple template because it's enough to get you started. I do have a complete walkthrough for this template. If you want to check it out, I will leave links in the description box so you can check it out. So here's what the table looks like. It has a little bit more space for everything. So income, expenses, and savings is built to track 10 years worth of data. So that's why I have 10 tabs here for each year, which of course can be changed to years in the past and years in the future. And here the dashboard that it comes with. It comes with a monthly summary dashboard, annual summary dashboard. You can change it from 1 year to another year. And finally, the multi-year summary. So this gives you comparisons from year to year for up to 10 years. So you can see income over time, expenses over time. You can even see things like the year you earned the highest income, the year you had the highest expense, and the year you had the highest savings. You can add 5 income categories and 50 subcategories. So you have a lot of flexibility if you want to see specific categories and subcategories of income, expenses, and savings. So that is what that looks like. Like I said before, get started with something free if you're not ready to spend some money. But if you want to take your tracking to the next level, go ahead and check my template. Links are in the description box. And finally, this template that we created today, this one will be available for free for my Patreons. So if you don't want to worry about the formulas and doing things wrong, you can go ahead and join my Patreon and support me. Thank you for those that have already joined. This template will be made available, the one we just created right now, to my paid Patreon subscribers. So that is all I have, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I do have more videos like this coming up in the future. So if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, feel free to subscribe. If you found value in this video, please leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.